Since gaining independence in 1960, Nigeria has undergone numerous political transformations from military regimes to an emerging democracy. At the heart of this journey lies the dynamic force of the Nigerian youth, a generation rich in potential, resilience, and innovation. As the largest demographic group in the country, young people play a crucial role in shaping the democratic process and determining the future of Nigeria's independence. Despite facing challenges such as unemployment, political exclusion, and social unrest, Nigerian youth have consistently demonstrated a desire for change through activism, innovation, and of course, civic engagement. Movements like the hashtag #EndSARS, of course, have highlighted their willingness to demand accountability, justice, and good governance. The future of Nigeria's independence depends not only on preserving its political sovereignty, but also on deepening democratic values. Of course, promoting inclusive governance and empowering young people to take leadership roles. It's a beautiful week, a new episode on your favorite Primetime show, Ways. My name remains Sayome Saleh. And of course, today we're discussing youth, democracy, and of course, the future of independence, Nigeria's independence. Now, remember, Ways is all about you. You are the wine way, so be a part of the conversation by adding your voice to the discussion every single day. Please head on to our YouTube channel. Our community is growing. Be a part of that community. Hit the subscribe button, like, share, invite families, friends to watch and follow the conversation. When I open the phone lines, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic, right? As always, let me allow you ponder on my quote for the day. It says, "The youth of a nation are the trustees of its posterity." And this was from Benjamin Disraeli, right? So yeah, we'll delve into the conversation around all of this much later. But first, let me run off on a break. I'll come back and I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me. All right, I'm going to start with NNPC, of course, the Group Chief Executive of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. That's the NNPCL. NNPCL, yes. It's a mouthful. Mr. Bayo Ojulari has blamed the recent rise in cooking gas prices on a temporary disruption to loading and distribution during the strike by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. I think that's Pengatson. According to the NNPCL boss, the industrial action halted operations for several days and produced an artificial spike in prices. The price surge followed the Pengatson's industrial action, which was launched over the dismissal of Nigerian workers at the Dangote refinery and suspended on October 1st after federal government's intervention. Ojulari also accused opportunistic retailers of exploiting the shortfall to hike prices. He, however, assured Nigerians that as supply chain stabilize, the cooking gas price is expected to ease in the coming weeks. Ojulari said that Dangote Group's agreement to redeploy affected staff and the resumption of operations have begun to ease supply bottlenecks. Do I even have anything to say about this? Nah, I don't have anything to say. But I saw a contrary video that said that the reason we have a lot of hike in price of cooking gas is because of some, would I call them some cartel, right? That they are hell-bent on ensuring that the prices come to us expensive, because Dangote, according to the report, is willing to supply them LPG, which is the liquefied petroleum gas, or yeah, is willing to supply them at 800, while they are asking, I mean, instead of the 1,000 plus that they are getting it at. So that would automatically affect the, the end user, which is us, the retail, the people that are, the people that are using it at homes, in their homes, right? So I don't know if that is the if that is the true picture of things. But if that is the true picture of things, it then tells you that, you know, we have a long way to go in terms of how we want to, would I say, sustain the larger population in Nigeria. Because if we have people that are willing, you know, to just kind of maybe shrink their profit a little bit to ease off the pain of the average Nigerian, I don't know why we're having, you know, problem, you know, having to adapt those kind of prices. But hey, in every situation, in war, in everything, some people are benefiting from it. So I don't blame them. They're businessmen. So Nigerians, we need to wake up. I'll move on to my next story. The management of the National Assembly has cautioned aggrieved parliamentary workers against carrying out their planned protest and picketing of the complex as lawmakers resume plenary on Tuesday. The warning followed threats by some members of the Plenary Staff Association of Nigeria to embark on industrial action over alleged unresolved welfare and constitutional issues affecting staff. The management warned that any attempt to disrupt legislative activities would attract severe disciplinary measures. He explained that within 7 months of assuming office, the current management had embarked on several administrative reforms aimed at improving efficiency and boosting staff morale. They cited constitutional provisions mandating union executives to prepare annual budgets, circulate audited accounts and balance sheets, and ensure compliance with statutory financial obligations, arguing that management's interference undermines internal democracy and accountability. The group also criticized the recognition of executive officers earlier removed by the Congress, describing the move as a violation of due process and the union's internal democracy. You see all this union thing. God will help us in this country. I'm still trying to understand when Nigerians will wake up and realize that strike is not the answer, because, I mean, people that are affected by strike, I think it is only natural if they're actually worried that you're going on strike. But let us see how this plays out. We will follow the situation. I'll move on to my final story. The Nigerian Union of Teachers in Cross River State, they've urged the state government, today is just a lot of buzzwords, to increase funding for the education sector from 15 to 26%. And of course, of 26% of the annual budget to boost productivity. The union's chairman, Comrade Gregory Olai, demanded the promotion of teachers to grade level 17 and appointment as permanent secretaries, citing similar practices in neighboring states like Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Rivers. He said when he was meeting the teachers, he demanded that all of these requests would boost productivity. He also highlighted key issues, including the release of education budgets, employment of more teachers in primary and secondary schools, and prompt payment of salaries for primary school teachers. The NUT chief lamented that current teachers shortage have created vacancies, particularly after 200 teachers moved from the secondary school and 100 teachers from the primary schools, and that also kind of, most of them moved to mainstream sectors. He urged the state government to address these issues or these concerns to revitalize the sector, the educational sector in Nigeria. I don't think what this person is asking, that's the NUT chief, what he's asking is actually rocket science. We know that, first of all, we have a challenge with education in Nigeria. And we know that whatever is going on with the educational sector in Nigeria, it needs a lot of overhauling, and most of those things actually is tied to funding. Teachers actually, they deserve, or they should command better pay so we can get better hands in the educational sector, as opposed having the kind of quality of people that we have in the educational sector. So I mean, it's a no-brainer. ideally, in an ideal situation, that you invest more, especially financially, in education. But you see, Nigeria just tells you that things are done differently here. So we're hoping that they listen and, of course, they try to implement this. We'll take a break. When we come back from that break, let's discuss our democracy, right? 65 years. That's not a joke. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. Nigeria marked her 65th independence anniversary on the 1st of October. Now, beyond the ceremonies and speeches, of course, it was a moment to reflect on where we are as a nation and, more importantly, where we are headed. At the heart of that future of where we're going are Nigerian young and very vibrant people, right? With over 60% of the population under the age of 30, the role of the youth in shaping the country's democracy and sustaining its independence cannot be overstated. Yet, of course, year after year, many young Nigerians feel shut out of leadership, sidelined in decision-making, or disconnected completely from governance altogether. Now, this conversation would just, we want to help to ask what kind of Nigeria are young people inheriting, and how can they shape a democracy that is truly, reflective of, their own aspirations. Now, remember, I'm not going to do this alone. Every Monday, we partner with EIE to bring conversations around governance and, of course, politics and all of that, and leadership, to your screen. So joining me tonight is Ufoma Namdi Ude. She is the Deputy ED Programs, EIE Nigeria. And yes, Ufoma, it's been a long time. It's like you ran away from me.
No, I didn't. How are
Are you
you?
sure?
I have missed you.
I've missed you too. It's been a long time. How have you been, first of all?
I've been good. I've been okay. I've been, here
So
and
tell
there.
me,
About
tell me what October 1st was like for you waking up that morning. What did you do that day? You know,
Hmm.
what were the thoughts that ran through your mind?
Okay, so I think that October 1st, honestly, when I woke up that morning, I was just first, I was grateful to have a day off work. Then, because being in this space, there was a webinar that I had to attend, but I was just in a very reflective, pensive mood. Just because honestly, I said I posted on my Instagram that day as well. I was like, I don't really feel like celebratory. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it didn't, yeah, it just didn't feel, growing up as a child, like, oh, Happy Independence Day. It didn't really feel that way for me this year I don't know. That's how I felt too. And I think that energy just carried me through the day.
And I think you're not alone in that feeling, because I think a lot of people, waking up that morning, it seemed like, okay, so why are we talking about it? Why are we celebrating? Is it even worth the stress? But let
Mm-hmm.
me let me say, because again, a lot of times when we have conversations like this around young people, democracy, and the future of independence, people will keep on asking, you are wasting your time, right? But I, I know for a fact that, every conversation, every every discussion, be it in public like this or in private, it matters and it counts, and eventually, we will get somewhere. It might seem like we're not headed somewhere, but we're actually heading somewhere. But you see, independence was fought for by a lot of young people, and these are the same crop of people today that are still at the seat of, power, right? And when I look back at my generation and generations after me, right, and I see how the generations that have gone ahead of us, that fought for independence, that, put their lives on the line to ensure that, we are where we are today in terms of our independence and all of that. Now, almost like barricading these young people from expressing or from doing anything, that would probably maybe question, their leadership over the years and all of that. It just begs the question, how did we get here? Because Nigeria was supposed to be a place where young people are free to express, they're free to call, those in power to account, to say, come on, what are you doing? But all of a sudden, the people that fought for democracy, the people that laid their lives for democracy, are the same people today that are almost like, gagging a lot of young people. Why is this so?
Honestly, it beats my imagination, or I don't know, right? I don't know because and I cannot speak for them because I'm not them, right? But I feel like one of the reasons, somebody was made a post over the holidays, and it talked about how that successive governments have said almost the exact same thing every Independence Day speech. And and then he puts like the different speeches, and then I was reading it. And it almost seemed like it's like these people just felt like, or these people feel like we don't like, I don't know, maybe we're a country of people that don't think. Um, and they feel like they can just tell us anything, and then I mean we'll be outraged for a bit, and then we'll get back to the status quo. I think that would be. I guess that's how I rationalize it in my head. That's the reason why we have the same people that fought for independence, same people that fought for even not maybe not independent, but the same people that fought for going pro-democratic movements in the 90s, right? People that who fought against military rule and said, oh no, let's go back to democracy, are the very same people that are threatening democracy in Nigeria today. And it's crazy, I don't know why that is, but I do know that, like I always say, something has to give, and it's not enough for us to, I mean, after we feel a bit of despair, we must encourage ourselves and, and fight for our democracy, because it's very important. It's very, very, very important.
I like what you're saying, right? But you see, democracy cannot thrive, Ufoma, without active involvement of young people, right? Young
Yeah.
citizens. And it is their participation that actually even, strengthens that accountability or the innovation that we might find in governance, right? So two things. We are battling with a set of young people. I mean, you and I, we started a beautiful partnership this year, EIE. We have been talking about the office of the citizen. Like every single Monday, we talk about how it is important that the most important office in Nigeria is the office of the citizen. So two things for me. There's a docility that young people, right, still exhibit when it comes to issues around governance or leadership or politics, because it seems like the thing is so far it's not my business. But that very would they call it institution or whatever it is, or those institutions are actually what determines whether you are going to sleep and not wake up with a headache, right? Because it's that simple. So there's that docility. They were also now battling the ones that have decided that they want to step up and they want to now come out, they want to advocate and all of that. We are now battling the fact that most of these people are being threatened, do not do this, do not do that, Some of them have even been arrested, thrown in jail with no due process, no this. So and this now makes you feel like that is why you don't feel angry that we have citizens that are not actively participating, because the ones that have participated, where are they? So it is just a multiple problem that I don't even know how we can move past it. But we truly need an active citizen participation. And we also need the government to be able to allow people participate in peace. So how do we strike that balance so that we can find a headway? Government cannot tell me that they don't want to be criticized.
That's true. And the honest truth is that I think sometimes when we think about the balance that we can strike between how that people feel people are docile when it comes to politics and governance engagement in Nigeria, and the fact that when people then decide to engage, what happens to them? That balance for me is that and just for the sake of not sounding like you don't understand, maybe it has not happened to you yet and things like that. But I don't think that there's any place where like people are struggling for good governance and public accountability in their country where it has been handed to them on a platter. Handed to them on a platter now, what I mean is that for the sake of the people that in the struggle they get killed, or the people who die along the way, or people that something happens to them along the way, I think that for the sake of those people we cannot relent, because some people have had to pay the ultimate price. I mean, we're in the month of October. In the next 2 weeks we'll be talking about is this 5 years now, or I think it's 5 years post the NSAS protest and what happened at the Lekki toll gates, right? Some people, for the people that lost their lives and people that, they got injured along the way, or the people that have been exiled from the country, we can't afford to be quiet and we can't afford to be silent. If not, it would almost feel as though what happened to them was a waste. But it was not a waste, because this was young people believing that change can happen. And that's why we must consistently and continually talk about these things. It's not, we were talking about this thing a few months ago where we talked about how that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And in the process, we must begin to look at small wins. And so when things like impunity, when all these acts of impunity happen, we must talk about it. We have seen cases where people were picked up, and because of the outrage across different media platforms and communities, they were released. But we have also seen cases where people were picked up and it didn't really spark enough outrage. And so whatever happened to the person happened to the person. And so I think one of the theories that I have framed around, just how Nigerian government reacts to things is that they try us. You know, they will put something out there and see what people will do about it. When citizens speak out in their numbers about issues, there's almost usually a turnaround in, okay, maybe the person will be released or something like that. But when we just, let it be, then we now start to see it on the rise, on the rise, on the rise, like that. And I think for me, I don't think that there's a balance that we can strike. I don't think, but I think that one of the things that keeps me going is me just telling myself that for the sake of the people that we've lost along the way, for the fact that some people have not seen their parents or their family members, not because they jackpot in the sense, but because they're not safe here. For the sake of those people, we have to continue fighting for our democracy and fighting for a country that works. And also, like, something that I would say is that because it could be somebody else today, right? You see, when we're talking about the case of insecurity in the country, and it looks like it's so far away, but all that needs to happen is one mishap, and it's just right at your doorstep. And because of that, we must continuously talk about these things. We must continuously act on these things. What are the things that we must do? We must mobilize ourselves as young people, and we must be true to ourselves as well. I don't think that there's going to ever come a time where we have complete consensus on issues. But we must find those issues that we align on and amplify them. To me, that's one of the successes of the NSAS. The fact that we were able to
because
find
I think,
one thing.
NSAS, our voices were aligned, because it
Yeah.
was a common pain that a lot of young people, they felt that it was a common pain. So it was easy for us to align our voices. But quickly, Ufoma, right? If young people remain very excluded or disengaged from these political processes that is happening right now, right? What is the thing that we stand to lose? What is the biggest risk that we stand to lose? Because sometimes I feel like we need to start showing people, the end result. If you choose to stay quiet, if you choose to stay docile, what do you stand to lose? We already know what might happen. Okay, look at this young girl, for instance. There's a young girl that is always on social media. I follow her, my Edo sister, Miss Natural, I believe that's her name. She saw the labor,
Yes, I
the
saw
fraction
that
of the
thing over
labor, yes, the
Twitter.
labor chairman, or what's his name, Abure, at the airport, and accosted him and said, you are part of the problem, you are this, you are that, and all of that. Even though I don't subscribe to that style of attack. You know why? Because you lose the essence of the message you're trying to drive. Because, do you understand? We have to find a structural strategy to get the message passed across without coming across like we are, because at that point it now became a fight thing. There's a way you will drive home the point, it will hit home. Do you understand? Without having to get to that level, to the point where she was arrested and all of that. But you see that thing that happened. A lot of young people believe that if I get engaged, that is my fate, right? I will end up in police custody, I would end up in jail, I will end up like that. But you see, the problem is, it is also how we engage. Do you get my point? If we engage in a systematic and structural way, right, we will not be part of the people that they will be arresting, because we are coming with a lot of structure and facts. We're not coming to insult somebody. We're coming to tell you the facts. So when you even hear the fact, you can't. There's no basis for you to object it, or there's no basis for you to question it. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So what is it that we stand to lose if we do not engage, right? If we stay excluded from the political process?
I think that, when you asked the question, the first thing that came to my mind was our future. And the second thing that came to my mind was our lives. And not in the sense of that, every young person is going to die. And not because I want to sound gloomy, but I would always say this, right? We are the ones that have longer time to spend in this earth, right? Many of these people are in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 80s, like they've lived their lives, while we're the ones who still have 20, 30, 40, 50 years to live on the earth. How do we want to spend our lives? I think that when we start to ask ourselves these questions, we'll find that, see, the end of it is that I must do something about it, because we cannot remain in this situation. What we stand to lose is our future. We stand to lose our children. We stand to lose our children, right? Because at the end of the day, when we don't have good governance, when we're talking about situations around not being able to compare to our peers internationally, when we look at the fact that our education system cannot match, really, because and when we say these things, some people say, no, it's not, that's not my reality. Maybe because you attended a private school, or you attended some of the very good schools. But what's the reality of the average Nigerian? The average Nigerian cannot compare with their peers outside of the country. Why is that so? What are the systemic reforms that are needed? Sometimes there's even the place of, when we talk about exclusion, it's not just exclusion from, the political process in terms of running for an office, voting during elections. There is that part, but there's also the place of getting into the civil service. There's also the place of joining advocacy groups. There's also the place of, because when we all leave the civil service, if you go to your average ministry or MDA today, you see that you look at the staff strength, you look at capacity, you look at their ages, you look at all of these things. And we're talking about low levels of innovation, low levels of technology. If we bring it home, how much technology can my mom, who's in her 60s, how much can she adapt? Right? But those are the people that are filled up the civil service and all of those things. Yes, I know there's a place for nepotism and stuff like that, but there's also the place of young people, not like good young people, like people that are talented and know what they're doing, getting into those places as well. So there's also exclusion from that angle, from that area of governance as well. And because civil service, public service, that's how we get continuity beyond government tenures and things like that. So I think that the major thing that we stand to lose is our future. We can be that generation that decides to just always be angry about stuff and talk about it and try to leave. But like we would always say in my office, at the end of the day, now we'll give up, lose. Right? That's just it. And it's a continuous game.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. These politicians, they actually do. They know that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
That's what I was about to say.
They are willing to play the long game, but we are not.
Yeah. No, we must be.
We have to get to that point where we are ready to play the long game. It's so interesting that when I was serving my youth service, I was actually posted to Ministry of Youth and Sports in Ibadan, right? In Oyo State, so the capital of Ibadan. And imagine, if I know what I know now, I would have stayed there. I would have, because you see, I didn't want to do anything government work. For what? Why would I want to work for a government this thing? But you see, one of the biggest challenges are the civil servants that we have. Those are the biggest custodian of some of the corruption that we fight or shout about. But let's go on a break. When we come back from that break, we'll continue this amazing conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a conversation, of course, around youth, democracy, and the future of Nigeria's independence. And I have with me Ufoma. She's joined me via Zoom. Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp. Leave us a message on our YouTube links. We'll read your messages. 081-803-84663. Those are the SMS or WhatsApp line. Or you can call us on 07025007749 or 07014242420. Let's hear what you have to say. All right, so Ufoma, So as I was saying before the break, that you see, if I know, or if I knew what I know now, right, I would have served at the government office, just to even understudy and know how government, works. Because you see, some of the challenges that we face is because we do not understand the civil service structure, how it works, and how some of these things are not really tied to the executives that we see. Some of the systemic problems that we have is deeply rooted in the civil service. It's not really about whoever is the president or the governor, or the people you see, or your commissioners and all of that, or your ministers. There is a what's it called? A larger cancer within the civil service that is eating deep into the very fabric of our society. And that is what young people, that consciousness is what young people are beginning to see, and so a lot of young people are waking up to the reality that we need to go into those kinds of parastatal to go and work and all of that. Unfortunately, I don't know if you have the capacity to clean up the system, or the system will then swallow you up, right? Because again, that's another discussion for another day. But you see, democracy is important, right? Our independence is important. Democracy gives us the right to say our voices are heard in every at every level, be it local, state, or federal level. Our voices are heard. That's what the democratic structure is meant to do, to make sure that everyone is represented. So if young people, right, because as we try to double down on like way forward, what would truly be a great place to start? When I say, okay, now I want to be involved in the issues around democracy, I want to preserve the future of our independence and all of that as a nation, how should young people start to engage?
This place is the place that many people rush to engage, right? But I think that what is the first place is understanding the issues. Understanding our political reality as well. I think that that's the first place. Like, young people must begin to have these types of conversations. My friend will say that there is a death of intellectualism in our discourse as young people, right? Because the honest truth about democracy is that democracy means that you have your opinion and I have my opinion, and based on our opinions, we can make decisions. But young people still have a problem with the fact that I did not vote who you voted for. Young people still have a problem with the fact that we can have two different political ideologies and it doesn't make us enemies, right? And those are the things that maybe because I'm a student of social sciences, and I maybe that's why I understand these things. But I think that we must from the basic level, we must understand that democracy means that we all have a right to our choices, and democracy means that we all have a right to our opinions. Understanding Nigeria's democracy now would help us understand why we have things like federal character. Why do we have federal character? What was it intended to do? What has it become? And so when we are proposing solutions, it's embedded, we are proposing it based on our contextual reality. We're not one of those people that are saying, Singapore did it, Japan did it. Okay, but what is our context? How does this apply to our context? That's number one. Number two is that, so understanding the issues. Number two is that we must begin to mobilize. And I know that that's something that is happening right now, but not just mobilizing for the sake of winning an election. There is the place of mobilizing to win an election, but I think a greater part of it is mobilizing to become a formidable bloc. Nobody can win elections without young people. That is the truth, because young people form the largest voting demographic in Nigeria.
Anywhere in the world.
In fact, more Nigerians fall under the age of 30. Like, majority of Nigerians are not yet 30 years old, right? And so it means that we must begin to mobilize among ourselves across issues that matter to us. And we must also leave pedestrian conversations, things that border on tribalism and nepotism. We must begin to see the system for what it is. You know, I was reading a book by Chinua Achebe. The book is called The Trouble with Nigeria. And he was talking about tribalism and how that we must understand that tribalism is a tool of the elite to capture power. We say these things, but young people must understand it. Must understand what are the tools of this master and
For you
how do
to
we
be
want
able to
to
understand it, Ufoma, shouldn't you have some level of intellectual prowess to be able to understand
That's
it?
why I said no,
You
no.
know,
That's why I
yes,
said that the
yeah,
next
because
level
you
is
see,
understanding.
yeah, because you see, the truth is, what you are saying is absolutely correct. If we were discussing Big Brother Africa now, I'm sure, because in the afternoon, the people that had the Big Brother conversation, they had over 3,000 people watching the show. You know, even though they were talking about it for 2 hours. So it is the conversation around. It is the idea that Nigerians kind of, you know, when it comes to conversations like this, they shut down.
We love
They are not able
entertainment.
to. Huh?
So we love entertainment.
Absolutely. And I keep on saying that you must strike the balance. But then again, and I realize that it is that entertainment is also one of the tools in the hands of politicians, because you see them, they keep on sponsoring, you know, they keep on sponsoring shows like the ones that I've mentioned, because it is important for them to keep you busy whilst they are doing what it is that they are doing. So that the fact that we have a deficit in intellectualism, like you said, you know, that's what your friend said, right? The fact that we have that deficit is already a problem. Because if you check the founding fathers that changed the game in Nigeria,
They were
most of them were
intelligent people.
highly intellectual. So Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Ahmadu Bello, most of them, they were highly
Who
intellectual
are,
beings, right?
who
So
are, this
where
is
are
the
the
reason
highly
why
intellectual young Nigerians that are pushing
this is the
forward, you
reason
know?
why sorry, this is the reason why we need it's not so my ED Opeyemi Adamoleku, she will say something. She will say that if you even check through like how Nigerians have fought for power in the 90s, I think it was there were a group of people called concerned professionals, right? These were like the name implies, they were people from the private sector that were concerned about the state of the nation. And so what did they do? They came together to start having conversations about it. From conversations it led to different activities that we were doing. We cannot talk about Nigeria's democracy moving forward or being strengthened without talking about the role of educated Nigerians. And we can't talk about it without talking about the role of private sector. Because if you look at it from that standpoint, you would understand why we are where we are. It's almost as though we've left everything for a group of people called civil society to do. Not remembering the fact that the larger bulk of young people that can actually effect change in Nigeria, even just look at NSAS. We had entrepreneurs who were backing those movements. That's how we can move the needle forward. It's not, and so it's not even about getting a revolution of 1 million, 200 million, or 50 million Nigerian people. It's about having critical mass, definitely, of educated and informed people who understand the issues.
I tell you, you
That's
know, Ufoma, on a lighter note, right? The way you said the Association of Concerned Professionals, they came together. I think what we need to start to do now, let's do Association of BBL Queens, right? The BBL Queens, to tell them that your sugar daddy will stop paying money. Oh. If the economy continues like this, your market no go sell. Oh. So maybe they will come together and say, we have to fight for this democracy. I think I'm saying this to say that we have to find, because whether we like it or not, we are not at that point where we can have a good mass, you know, align on probably maybe intellectual levels and all of that. Can we start to now form clusters or say concerned market women? See what is happening in Edo State and the Aloja issue and the Iyeki issue, you know, and all of that. So the women came together and say, Iyaloja does not work in Edo State. What we have is Iyeki, and Iyeki means the mother of the market, right? That is what we have. So they are, because now the thing concerns their constituency. They are coming together, right, to fight for what it is that they believe in. So imagine if we have those kinds of clusters, right? To say, okay, oh, and they are speaking one language based on how it affects their own constituency. How would that work? How would that, play out? And how would it
Honestly,
change the game?
that would be the ideal thing, right? And it's just the reasoning behind what it is that you said is why, like, one of the projects that we do that we always talk about on this show, my LGA project, we're doing it now in Ekiti State as well. So we've added Ekiti to the states where we're working in, and we're taking a different turn, as opposed to organizing large town hall meetings where you have people just come in and they go. We're taking a more penetrative approach. So we're going to already formed associations to have these conversations around governance, to pass this gospel around political education, understanding the issues as it relates to their state and then the country as a whole, right? That's how we can move it forward. When we did the Fumilayo Ransom Kuti screening last year, we had somebody come to us to say, oh, I think you should take this thing to the markets, right? Let market women watch it. Let them see what happened in this person's era and what they can do now. They can say no to some of these things. They can say no to vote buying. They can say because of what it means for their children's tomorrow, right? And I agree, because that's the only way we can get, because we must begin to use the same strategies that these people use. When it's time for elections and they need the votes and things like that, they don't just only do big raids. They go to Market Women Association, Farmers Association, Traders Association, Barbers Association. There's somebody in every association. And so those cluster movements must be something that we begin to think about. And as young people, we must be ready to, I always say this thing, I can't talk about this young people and democracy without saying we must be able to put our money where our mouth is. As we are forming these clusters, we must also be willing to contribute financially, because that's how we can move these things forward. You can't organize a town hall meeting.
I mean, you just touched on something very critical, because apart from the fact that these politicians understand that it's a marathon and not a sprint, they also have the financial backing for it. A lot of the politicians, this is why they steal money. They steal money because they understand the impact that money can do when it comes to, getting them in positions of power. So money is a very critical part of the whole equation, and that's why what's it called, financial independence, economic power is important for anything. So, and if you look at the situation right now, we have a young population that is largely unemployed, some of them unemployable, right? So how do you now then empower these people in a way that they become, and that's why you see that everything is now tied together. So there's the part of education that has taken a nosedive. There's also a part of economic empowerment, because they know, politicians know that when when the young people are financially empowered, it will be difficult for them to do their bidding. So poverty is also a weapon that is used, right? Of course, religion, ethnicity, poverty, education. Those are weapons that are used consistently to ensure that the status quo remains the way it is, so we don't move forward. Now that we know this, what would be the ideal strategy for us to start to intentionally empower ourselves? A lot of young people are doing it now. They are going online, getting, forex income from all kinds of, platforms, be it TikTok and all of that. People that were nobodies are making a lot of money on YouTube, on TikTok, being content creators. These are opportunities that young people are beginning to create for themselves. And the government is actually seeing this, and they are seeing that this is becoming a threat, because a lot of these young people now, they have a voice because they have money. You can't really tell them what to do, because they know what they have the financial, they are not coming to you cap in hand to beg you for money. So how do we now ensure that we populate the number of people that are financially empowered? Because again, like you rightly said, money is important in this game.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think that the way that we would do that is by is by building capacity. Um, and if I'm being honest, it's not really our job. Like, and that's the thing. Like, it's not our job to do it. It's the job of government. I agree. And so, because it's government's job for us to get that thing, get this thing done, for those of, I don't want to say for those of us now, but for those of us that are employed and are in some ways financially empowered, we must start to live lives of contribution. And I know that it's very important from where you are. Like, from where you are, who can you help, and what's a sustainable way of empowering people? Right? Is it education? Is it somebody was talking to me about how that, there was a family member that would always, come and ask for money and ask for money. After a while, the person was like, do you know what can you do? Go and learn a skill. But the person paid for the person to learn a skill and set up a shop for the person. And that was how that one stopped asking for money every time. That one too became somebody that people could ask for money, and like that. And that's why in Abia State, they went and legislated the Nwa boy system, the apprenticeship
Apprenticeship
system.
system, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because it works. And I think that those are some of the things that we need to be looking at. But more importantly, we must consistently put pressure on government to do their job.
Absolutely. I mean,
Because there's nothing that any civil society organization or any foundation, there we have free schools popping up in different places. No matter the number of free schools that we create, it will not solve a problem that is as huge and systemic that government is supposed to solve.
Absolutely. So let me just quickly put in this very, very interesting story. So we are setting up, of course, we set up a media academy where we want to empower young people, train them, and then help them find jobs, right, in businesses, to help SMEs with their content creation and content management, right? So the whole system is an ecosystem where we train you, then we place you in a company, so you start to earn money and, you are empowered. So I did a message and I sent it to a few bonds of mine. Somebody now replied back. He said, that is government work. He said, I am focused on saving people's lives. So, but unfortunately, we cannot wait for the government, because you see, if we say we are waiting for the government to help empower young people, they will not want to do that, because empowering young people is almost like digging their own grave. Right? So we need to now find other creative ways, to do it. And like you rightly said, because my message to those people was, instead of giving this person handouts every month, give me money, empower them, let them be trained for a skill and all of that, and let them start to earn money. You'll be amazed how much creatives are making on a daily basis, you understand? Just going out for different kinds of events, doing content for clients and all of that. So we are trying to gather a critical mass of those unemployed people and help train them and empower them, because in the end, right, Ufoma, all of these things, it will make sense for somebody that has food in their belly, somebody that's not going to go and beg for money or any of all of those things. It will make sense to that person. So if you had one final thing to say to any young person that is watching, or if you wanted to address the government, what would that be, so we wrap up the conversation tonight?
I think that if I was going to say anything to any young person, I would say do not despair and do not give up. Do not give up. Don't lose hope. And this is coming from someone that's equally as young as you are. That we're still, like what they say, Nigeria's democracy is still pretty young. However, like, you and I have a role to play in ensuring that, we strengthen our democracy, and that democracy actually yields its dividend for Nigerians. Absolutely. Our role to play is that we understand the issues, we mobilize, we keep talking about these things, and we put our money where our mouth is. If you support a candidate, finance their running
campaign,
for office.
Absolutely.
Their campaign. Absolutely. If you support a movement, if you support any advocacy movement, finance non-profit organizations. Absolutely. Right? And to the government, I would say that young people actually work in Nigeria. If you go to National Assembly, you see young people everywhere. And so I would say that if you can have young people on your team, imagine what would happen when you allow young people to take the reins in Nigeria. Why would you be doing, like, when you're talking about things like digital economy, when you're talking about things that have to do with the future of banking and all of these things, you need young people in the room because they are the ones who can create the future that they will get to live in.
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Ufoma, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Now, see, the future of Nigeria's independence lies in the hands of its youth, and because they have the creativity, they have the numbers, and they have the passion to drive the change. You see, if we really want to change anything, we need to empower young people, and this is all I can take for the evening. If you missed our quote for today, it says, the youth of a nation are the trustees of its prosperity. See you guys tomorrow. Remember to subscribe, like, share, invite families and friends to join the conversation. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.